motorcycle insurance. Visit Progressive.com. Adebayo tonight, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 of 2 from the line.
Trap, what up? Moolah was good. Watching this Milwaukee-Miami game. Waiting for Mr. Kennedy High School. 25-8-8. Mr. Six-Man Basketball. Hay is fire? I don't know. I don't know what that means. That's some Florida talk. But, alright, cool. Hay is fire. Trot was good. You sent out my package already, bro? Sheesh. Now you got me. Nah, I'm going to have to take a flight. I'm going to have to drive out there 16 hours. Oh, hat? Good looking, bro. We got to get it today. We got to get it today. Get my man Amaury Fermin on here. Word, Trot. You won't make me drive out there, B. Come on, son. Stop playing, man. That fell in my lap, and now you just gonna just like hold my jersey hostage, bro? And the cards? Sheesh. You live with them, yo. It's different. That's your man. Your man Amaury. You know, these dudes from the BX, they're not punctual. But he'll be here. I just spoke to him. Get him on here. Talk this talk. Yo, try on the low. Amaury did some numbers in Kennedy, bro. Word. Gabi, what up? 25-8-8 is tough, man. He did his thing. Yo, Gabi was good, son. My money's on Gabi, anybody, 101. That's it. He had a new ACL. He bought it in DR. He's ready to go. Where's this dude at, man? Amaury needs to stop playing. He got some of his kids in here. They trying to hear about their old coach. Amaury, an old head with all that white hair. We don't know how old he is. He says he's younger than me, but he got his whole thing is just silver. The Cabrini Classic. With no permits, I heard. That's gonna be fire. Literally. Gabi retired? Nah, Gabi bought a new ACL in DR. You get an ACL and a free pair of sneakers. Good, I'm glad he got him. Now they can't bother him. That's what's up. Yeah, you get the patent leather 12s. Even though the 12s didn't come in patent leather, you get them in patent leather with an ACL. Where's Amaury at, man? California time, yo. What's 5:30 over there? It's the time he picked. See where he at. Word up. You get an ACL surgery in DR. And you get a bottle with a hookah. You get hookah in the recovery room. Oh, there he goes. Let's get it, coach. Why it says Amaury unable to join, though? He doing something weird. Yo, it says you can't join, Fermin. It says unable to join. What you did, bro? Now, dudes don't know how to go live because they on Drew's platform. Now Amaury don't know. Now he forgot how to go live. It says unable to join, bro. Is that why you say you're gonna do it on the laptop to finagle this? Come on. Let's see, 6-man basketball. Okay, now we talk. You know, Amaury, he's from the Bronx, man. So you gotta be careful. Now he forgot how to go live.
Man.
It says unable to join, bro. Man,
Look what I'm doing, man. So you on this, man. I don't know why this is not working, but
nah, it doesn't let you join though.
it's so good. I got on with my 6-man page, so it is what it is. This is
What's good, brother? How you been, man?
I'm chilling. You know me, chilling.
How's that?
You know me.
Everything good out there?
I had to get on with this one because my other page wasn't working, so there might be a different crowd, different people here, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all love, man. What's good? How you been? Everything good? How's the family?
I'm chilling. Everybody's good. I got a chance to go back to the city. You know that. So I was there for like 3 weeks this past month. 4 weeks. I was there tapping in with my brother, my pops, you know, really just tapping in with all my family. And try to catch up to everything that was going on, you know, with everybody out there too, everybody I grew up with or whatever it is. So
yeah, because you old, so you got to catch up with generations of people.
Yeah, I feel young, but I'm old. That's right.
Let's get to it.
Yeah.
At what age did you start hooping?
You know what, man? It's crazy to think about it. I used to play basketball, like outside in my neighborhood when I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I would say, realistically, that's when I was like really introduced to being outside, playing basketball, and like. But you know, I had a basketball when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. But it wasn't something I knew about. I didn't really care for. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, but I would say 11 or 12 around there.
And then competitively, like, you know, like playing organized, referees and all that?
You know, a funny story, man. Like, I actually got introduced. I was outside, right in front of my building. They have a full court. I was outside, and one of my, I guess, big time friends now, he was like, "Yo, what's up? I want to take you to this LPAC thing." That's how I was like, you know, what's LPAC? Oh, it's a little church, a little thing they got going on over there. They make teams, they take you to tournaments. So I was like, all right, you know, like, let me see what's good with this. 13, you know, I kind of got my first tournament. It was called Play Street. It was actually outside. And they had two, it was up the block for me, but they had two, you know, portable or whatever rims and stuff. So we played outside. And that was my first tournament. It was called Play Street, which was kind of crazy. And that's how I started, like, getting involved with Pro Style, with Gun Hill, you know, all those different tournaments, ISA, just growing up and going to different cities in New York, different places in New York to like play basketball. It was through LPAC, 13, 14 when I got introduced to all of that for real. So they was the one that actually put me on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as like the school aspect of basketball, when did that start for you?
When I went to 303, it was a school, low middle school up the block from me, and they had like a 7th and 8th grade team. So we was like, you know what, let's jump on it. So our school was 5 floors, and they created 2 schools in that same, you know,
building
system, that structure, and they combined the teams. So we had a 7th grade, 8th grade team, and my first true school thing was 7th grade. We had like 5, 6 games, but it wasn't like a true, like, long season or anything like that. I did the same thing in 8th grade, and I got a chance to go to high school, but I didn't even know Spanish. I didn't even know English like that. Like, I had a little bit of English in me, but I was really like you know, like a bilingual kid. You feel me? I came to the States when I was a 4th grader. So I wasn't born in New York or nothing like that. I came when I was like 9, got introduced to basketball like 12, 13. And then it became something like, okay, middle school, and then boom, you know, high school came about. So that's how I really got introduced to the game, you know, through LPAC, through that.
So the time that you started playing with LPAC, you really you really didn't have the English aspect down pat.
Not really. So I used to go there like to practice, and it was guys, you probably know them, but like Danny Manna, Ed Barrio, Sammy Mejia, Gary Nunez. So a lot of these dudes were Spanish already, and I had related to that environment, you know. And then I got to know Womack and guys like that were, you know, up and coming, like LPAC, older guys, and it kind of took off from there. Like that's how I got to learn a little bit of English or whatever it is, and got a little chip on my shoulder on the basketball aspect.
So going into high school, did you know about the PSAL, the Archdiocese, the school, Kennedy, and
Hell no.
none of that?
None of that. So when I was coming out of 8th grade, yeah, I played a little bit of tournaments outside, like I was mentioning, but I didn't know what was PSAL Catholic school. And I remember playing versus Riverside Church one time. It was actually at their location. And I just went to work, bro. I just was playing hard, went hard, and whatever. I killed them. Next thing you know, Vic, one of our coaches at LPAC, was like, yo, you know, what you think about Catholic school? So I was originally going to go to St. Raymond's. And that's where I was going to supposedly go. And, you know, then we went through this whole paperwork or whatever it was. My family wasn't into any of that understanding. It was really my brother that was like, yo, you should look into that option. I was like, yo, my brother was a senior at Kennedy. So I said, you know, I'm going to just go with you, bro. I'm going to just be a 9th grader and be up there with you. And that's kind of how it went, man. It wasn't like I didn't care about Catholic school leagues and public. I didn't know none of that. I didn't approach high school as like a well-groomed middle school kid. You know, like I didn't have the knowledge of that. I just played outside and boom. You know, so that's how it came about.
Okay. So when you get to Kennedy, the PSAL still tough. There's competition. There's good ball players, and you're coming in as a 9th grader. Now, do you know, is the situation with the basketball team something that you looked into before you got there, or you just going to and have to try out for the team?
So when I got there, I knew who Johnny Mathis was. I knew there was there was a lot of good players there. Like we had, you know, Mousy, guys that was coming out, like Kennedy dudes that you was like, now that you look back at it, you like, man, like you was at that school. And I got a chance to just say, you know what, like, let me go try out with the team. And there was like 3 or 4 freshmen that tried out. And I got picked, man. I was the only guy that got picked as a freshman to play varsity. And then they picked up Emiliano, who actually played with me my senior year and all that along the way of the high school career. But we was the only 2 freshmen that got picked. And I kind of stood out in a sense, like, I was at the gym all day, man. Like, I would go to school 6 or 7 in the morning. Like, that's when they opened up for the JV practice. I'll go to class, and then I was at the varsity practice after school all the way to like 8:30, 9 o'clock, because Mathis was like that. He didn't let us go till like 9:30, 10. He didn't care about the bunch passes and none of that. So I was introduced to that as a 9th grader. Like, yo, I got to go hard. Like, it's got to be, you know, and I didn't really play much my 9th grade year as a varsity guy. I was there like a sponge, you know, just sitting out and like gravitating to the environment. But it wasn't like I was like super hyped to be. I wanted to keep grinding. Like, I wanted to go at somebody, you know. So the chip on my shoulder from the streets was kind of what had me like there competitively without even knowing, being 14 years old, damn, I'm actually on a varsity team, you know. So yeah, I didn't know much.
Okay, so you don't play much your freshman year, but in the summertime, you still playing with LPAC and you still traveling throughout the city playing with them, or
so
what?
you know, and I'm gonna be honest, man, we was very like they might kill me for saying this, but I'm gonna say this: LPAC wasn't as organized to say the least as the Gauchos or the Riversides or the different AAU programs. We were organized in a sense, but we didn't go to a lot of things that were like the most of the other teams were doing. We was doing stuff like church retreats, and we were going to a tournament in upstate New York, and we was trying to. They were trying to keep us out, man. They were trying to keep us out the city and make sure we groomed as men. And I appreciate those dudes. Like, I still talk to my LPAC coaches to this day.
Yeah.
But it's a family thing. So I was playing basketball with them. 9th grade year, I was kind of hooping and doing some stuff, but it wasn't the city. It was more out.
Okay.
Area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you coming in for your sophomore year. How are you feeling as a ball player, and what are you expecting?
10th grade year was dope, man. I actually, like, that's kind of when I took off. I averaged like 3 points my freshman year. I didn't even play like that.
Yeah.
And my second year, I averaged like 15, 16 as a sophomore, and they started me. So I was starting. I did good in the summer. We had like a summer high school, you know, we got together for like a month and a half, and we were kind of doing high school tournaments in the summer. And I got even more of a chip on my shoulder and just kept going, man. And I became like a starter in Kennedy. And that's kind of where it took off, man. Sophomore, junior, senior years, like when things kind of structured itself to kind of where I became, you know, a high school recruit. Yeah.
Okay. So by your sophomore year is when you step it up. Your points increase dramatically. You know what I mean? From 3 points to 16 points a game. Are you understanding, like, now, you know what? This basketball thing can take me somewhere, and there's another level to get to, or is it still just fun?
Yo, honestly, I'm speaking on all reality, bro. It was just fun. Like, I didn't know shit. You know, I'm gonna be honest, man. I didn't know shit about eligibility status. I didn't know shit about the SAT.
Okay.
I didn't know a lot of, you know, excuse my language, because I know there's kids probably here, but just to know, like, I was just hooping. I was 15 still. You know, I was still playing basketball, and, like, I was there all day. You know, kind of in the gym was open, was available for me all day. You know,
Yeah.
and that was it, man. I didn't. Junior year is kind of where it kind of jumped in. Okay, what is this? Oh, I'm getting a couple letters, and it kind of grew from there. Yeah.
How'd you guys place your sophomore year, the year that you came out?
My 10th grade year, you said?
Yeah.
So, like, my 10th grade year, we was top. We was a top program. I know we always went to the playoffs. We always went to that, like, the Elite Eight in the PSAL. Like, we always finished 2 or 3 steps behind. You know, kind of get into the championship. But
Okay.
we was tough, but I was still grooming as a player. I wasn't like, oh, I got him, and I gotta put it together. It was still fun for me. I was just competing and playing and having fun in high school. You know, it wasn't as serious to, like I said, the next year, junior year.
Did you play AAU basketball at all during high school?
Exactly. So that's where I was at 16. I credit a lot of this to which is crazy, to Lou Guzman, because Lou was living in 177th Street, right up the block from me, and he started going to the shows, and he was like, "Yo, you bugging? You need to go over there. You need to do this. You need to, you know, stay with the pack, but you need to start getting your buzz out there." So I waved them off. Like, I didn't really care. Towards the end of my junior year is kind of where I got real close with Terrell McKenzie and a couple guys from the shows, and he introduced me to Book Richardson, who coached at Arizona. And that's kind of who brought me in, man. That's when I was 16, 17, I played with the Gauchos for like a year, like a solid year. We went to Peace Jam. We went to South Carolina showcases. You know, I played with the young. It's crazy because they're younger than me, but the people on my team was Jordan Theodore, Kimber Walker, Durant Scott, Chris Fouch. I was playing. Terrell McKenzie was playing. Addis was playing. So it was a mix of a group that was like a year or two change of difference, but that was my real true, like, real AAU experience. It was like a year solid that was out of the city. That
Yeah.
made sense, you know. So that's when I was like, okay, what's this about? And I was killing, man. Like, I was at the top of my game, junior year, 16 going on 17, and just like knowing that I had a chance to go to college now. Like, yo, this is real. Like,
Okay.
but we were just killing people, man. Like, I didn't. Then the letters start coming, and the calls start calling, and shit like that. So it was a fun experience after that.
So you come back for your junior year, right?
Yeah.
The keys are yours?
I would say my junior year is when it was, because Emiliano. We had a couple guys that was on our team, but our biggest kid was like 6'3". My center was like a 6'3" guy.
Okay.
And we just had a bunch of guards. And at the time, Dwight Hardy was a sophomore at JV when I was a junior.
Okay.
So Dwight was bringing. Oh, he was scoring 40 in JV. So my coach Mathis was like, "Yo, what you think?" I'm like, "Yo, you gotta get him up. You know, like he gotta play with us." So the following year is kind of when he came up. When I was a senior, he played his junior year with me, and the chip happened, kind of all gravitated. But junior year, I had the team on deck, and we went real far. I think we lost like in the third round or something like that. But it was fun. We just didn't have the size. We didn't really have like a full-blown team to like take it.
Gotcha.
You know? But when we got Dwight's help, I think that was what we missed. You know, somebody that can also score at the guard.
Got it. Yeah.
So
at the end of your junior year, is that 1 year that you played with the Chos?
Yeah, just 1 year.
All right. So seeing, because when you play in that on that network, it's a different type of competition. It's not the city kids that you're used to seeing and that you're used to playing against. It's national. You know what I mean? You're playing against future NBA, future college ball players. So you're really getting tested really differently on these trips. And how are you faring as a kid that has been playing ball, what, at this point? 5 years, 4 years?
I'll say like 4 years, but honestly, again, I always play with a chip on my shoulder. I was always grateful to be like, oh, okay, I'm with this team now. Like we started getting sneakers and we started getting different gears and bags, and we didn't have all of that. So I'm over here like, yo, I'm grateful to be here. And when I got on the floor, it was like, yeah, you know, they was gonna know who I was, you know. So I was wilding. I had a mouth on me. I talked crazy to people, and I became this whole confident, defending, you know, kind of player. Like, just played on both sides, man. I always didn't care if I scored the most. I played on both sides when I was with the Chos. I took it more serious because I was grateful to get out and see it. Like my mom, my dad, they didn't know about basketball like that. They knew I played on the high school team, but they didn't know about none of that shit. You know, they didn't know what the hell the Chos was. You know, my brother was the one that kind of helped. Yeah, he's gonna go to Florida and whatever. Be back on Monday. So it was through my brother, you know, that they allowed that.
Okay, got you. So now you're coming back for, what was the numbers like your junior year?
My junior year, I was like 19, 20. My senior year, I was like 26, 25, 26.
Okay.
But my junior year, I was like 19, 20. And we had two other guys that averaged like 14, 15. So we had a good 45, 50 point nucleus with the guards we had. So it went like that.
And then you're safe to say every year you got better, your numbers got better, you improved as a player.
Yeah, every year was a progression. So I averaged 3 points. Then I went to like 14, 15. I went to like 18, 19. And my senior year, I got to 24, 25, 26. It's kind of where I took off. You know, I understood the game. I knew the league. I knew who I was going to play against. Like it was, you know, and I was really, you know, I was on the top of my top, you know, pause. You feel what I'm saying? So I was doing good as a senior year, in my senior year.
So going into your senior year, considering the fact that you've been improving every year, now you got that opportunity to play Gauchos with 4 players. Everybody's watching. So now you're one of these kids that everybody's watching performing. So when does the recruitment process start for you? Junior year, senior year?
It was the end of my junior year. So I was getting, you know, it's crazy because I was being recruited by Clemson my junior year. I was being recruited by South Carolina my junior year. Like I was getting recruited by big schools that I didn't know a lot of information about, you know, and Book was the one that was helping me. Like, yo, look, they want to talk to you. They want this. And I'm getting on the phone with them. I'm still getting used to learning new ways to communicate with people I don't even know. And I'm like, yo, but my junior year, that's kind of when I was getting recruited by different schools. And like, I was getting letters, you know, that's the time I was getting letters. And whether it was D3, D2, D1, NAIA, I was getting school letters from junior colleges, and it was filled up, man. My room was filled up with boxes, man. I had like sneaker boxes, so I used to put them in there. I was, again, grateful to like, yo, I gotta, you know, I'm getting recruited. You know, I was a young kid, like, yo, this shit is popping. So
Yeah.
I didn't look into like specifics of what school and what. I was just like living off that. Wow, I just did that. You know, I did good. I'm getting something from it. I think that's what carried over to my senior year to be like, yo, it's go time. I know what I got. I know what I got to bring, and I had help. Like I said, the team was better.
Okay. So going into your senior year, you thinking chip before I got to get this chip on my way out. I fell short a couple of times, and you know what you're willing to know what you're willing to do for your team, and you know what kind of team you have. So you going into it with the chip mentality from the gate.
Yeah, it was serious. My senior year was very serious. Like I was always like I wanted to give it back to Coach Mathis. It was really my coach, man. Like he won it in 2001. He lost 3 straight to Lincoln. Then we took it. We're going to talk about in 2005, and then Lincoln took it again for 4 years. He felt like he wanted to bring it back to like the Bronx or, you know, get a chip. You know, so I saw what he was doing. Like his time, he was picking me up 6, 7 in the morning sometimes, taking me to the gym to start the day. You know, with other guys meet us there. You have to go through the back door. Like you couldn't go through the front door because we have metal detectors and we had all kind of stuff. So we were doing, I saw the work that he put in and I was like, yo, I got to go hard for this last one. I got to win this joint. Like I got to try to get all I worked for my whole high school career, you know, and it wasn't easy, man. Kennedy was not an easy place to go to school either. Like bouncing away from all the other aspects that was part of being a student athlete there. I think we missing the point of that because I want kids to know too, like you live in an environment that you get so distracted, and to keep going forward like I was doing with that Kennedy stuff going into my senior year, it was just like, yo, I gotta let it all out. Yo, I gotta do what I gotta do. So that's when I had that mentality of like giving it all out.
Yeah, because Kennedy's in the middle of the hood, just like G Dubs is. You know what I mean? So just getting from the train to the school, there's a million things you can get into that'll keep you out of that building. You know what I mean?
It took me from my house in the Bronx. I had to get on the 4 train to Kingsbridge and get on a bus. So after that, it took me 45 minutes, almost an hour to get to school.
Yeah.
So me going to school a lot of times, I'm very grateful for Coach Mathis and the help that I had because they used to drive and they used to pick me up on the way, like, yo, we out. And I'll be up and I'll do it and I'll go. So I was learning to be disciplined without even knowing those things. So, yeah, man, it was tough, man. It was tough. But I would say I wanted to go hard for that basketball senior season, like for real.
So walk me through that senior season because that's the one when you really put on and, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, I knew the guys that were coming before me. Like, again, that experience with the Chos, like, to see the Kimba and the Durant and those guys, Jordan Theater. It was chippy young kids, 16. I was 18. I saw the Dwight Hardy come up. I saw, you know, the guys like that, and I was like, yo, you know, it's my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta put on for the city, respectfully to all of them, but I gotta prove it, you know. And I had to switch to a point guard role more than a combo guard because we had Dwight and we had Emiliano. We had a kid from the actual Kingsbridge area, which was where all the Albanians were at. That was the other guard. So I averaged 25, Dwight averaged 19, and that kid averaged 18. So it all came into fruition based on my point guard leadership role. So they had Coach Mathis was like, yo, I don't want you to look to score this year. Like, look to make it happen. You're going to have some opportunities. And at that time, my family started coming to games. And my dad was like, hell no. Like, yo, what the fuck you doing passing the ball? Like, you gotta get right with this shit. So I understood what Coach was doing, and that's how I got the mindset to start. Like my first game, I had 47. I scored 47 points. It's documented. I'm not lying about this, but I had 47 points, and I killed. It was Smith High School.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, the points is up. I could work that down by doing different things on the floor. So I started playing differently my second game, and I had 43 versus Taft, my second game of my senior season. So I was already cool. I'm at the 40s, 35s. I don't got to worry about it. So I started looking out for these dudes, and then that's how the whole thing came about. My whole average was 25, 8 and 8 or something like that. My senior year.
Facts.
And it just started because he told me, like, yo, you're not going, I don't want you to shoot that shit. Like, I want you to make it happen, and then you go. And my footwork was not on. I was always to the metal. I was trying to get to the basket.
Okay.
I didn't know how to come to stop. So it was like I had to learn different ways to be effective, man. Like, so I credit him and to putting me like a point guard in a point guard situation my senior year.
Okay. So playoffs come around. What's that run like?
You know, it's crazy, man. To this day, I don't remember exactly each team because it didn't really matter, man. We started like I know we play FDA. We played obviously we played Lincoln in the championship. We played I think it was a school named Curtis or something from Queens.
Okay.
We had it was like six straight games that to get to the chip. The semifinals was at St. John's University, and we played Frederick Douglass. They had a good team. Dudes coming up, but I was like, hell no, not this time around. I got one more game to get to the chip. That game I sacrificed it all, man. Like I actually had like 5 points, you know, and Dwight had like 18, and we had another kid on our team that averaged like 7. He had like a big 20-point game.
Okay.
So it was like that semifinal. That was like, man, my family gonna see me at the Garden, you know, like I wanted that.
Yeah.
You know? So when we won a chip, when we won that game, I was like, damn, this shit is really gonna happen. Like we're gonna play at the Garden, you know, and that was the pivotal point. Like I didn't care about nothing else no more. I was like, yo, it's go time, you know, like I want to win this shit, you know, like so they gave us like a week. About a week and a half to get ready, and a lot of media practices. Now you got all these news people coming to the school, and then we didn't even practice. It was, you know, it was a lot of pictures taken. And it was a lot of things like that. They took us to Foot Locker. We had to select a pair of sneakers for the game. Like again, grateful. I was grateful. So I knew we was the underdog coming in. We was the 7th seed. Lincoln was the 1st seed. Coming in. So that championship game, I told everybody, I was like, look, I'm taking the first shot. I don't care. So the ball went up, you know, and I went to the basket and I scored. I was the first person that scored in that game. I went to the cup, man. I just went right at him. And I tried to get a foul, whatever it was, to set the tone. And I scored, and I was like, yeah, it's time. Like, we're going to win this shit.
So walking into the Garden, before the game, walking into Madison Square Garden, you being a New Yorker, growing up watching games at Madison Square Garden your whole life, whether you spoke English or not, you knew what Madison Square Garden was.
Yeah, I knew that.
You know what I'm saying? Now you here in a short time. You know what I mean? Like, what's that like for a kid your age to take in? I'm about to play for this city championship in the Mecca.
You know what? I was really grateful to be in the environment that I was at, where I grew up at, in that neighborhood.
Yep.
The people that knew about my run, they was gonna be at the game. My mom and my dad and my brothers were gonna be at the game. So it was like the first time that people that knew what I was doing was like, yo, we actually made it for one game. Everybody got it. So I was like, that was really it. That kind of drove me to like, yo, they watching, you know, they watching. So I didn't care about first seed or who Lincoln had, who Tiny was, and respectfully to them, I didn't care about none of that. I was like, yo, we're not losing this shit. So the whole game, we controlled it. We slowed it down. We made it uncomfortable. We made them more drivers. You know, our strategy was easy. Like, you know, let's make sure they earn it. We're going to play harder. So walking into the Garden and getting on that floor, bro, like as a kid, that shit was crazy. You know, it was really like a special moment, you know, to be around there and to see the people that were there. Like, not a lot of people know this, but Spike Lee was at that game. He sat down right there.
Okay.
Like, no cap. He was sat down right there. And I was like, yo, this dude is really right here.
Yeah.
And there's pictures and all of that, and people from Kennedy will vouch for this, but like it was weird to see that. You know, like, yo, this shit is really here. Like the garden is here.
Yeah.
And it's black, man. So like when you playing, you can't really see everybody out there, but you see the lights and you're like, like these lights is for real, bro. Like it's bright. You feel me? So as a kid, I was really like excited, but also like, damn, I'm really in a stage where people watching me, you know, like, yeah. And I was, at that time, I was really recruited by Providence University. I was gonna commit to that school after that game.
Yeah.
And after the season, that's where I really wanted to go. It was the Big East with Steve DeMayo. I still talk to him to this day. He was the first coach that really took me serious. He's at St. John's right now. He's the head assistant. He's coached everywhere, but he was the one that called me and was like, yo, you know, I kind of got a shot at this shit with Providence. You know, we got Sickle Kaba. Remember Sickle Kaba?
Oh, stay cool, yeah.
Sickle was before me at Providence, I believe. Like, so I was trying to get in. You remember Jeff McDermott?
Of course.
McDermott
from New Rochelle.
So those dudes were Providence and Ryan Gomes.
Yep.
So I was involved with that. Like, damn, I want to be in that school. Providence was like my go-to. And then that's kind of what it was from the Garden. To kind of that conversation with Steve was bigger than those letters. Those letters was like unknown. You know, I was still having fun with the game, and then I actually got a call. And I got into that process. So, yeah.
So you get that championship. The buzzer sounds. You guys are the New York City champions. And you did it for Mathis, and you beat Lincoln. So everything was perfect. That setting was perfect. How did it feel to get that championship?
I cried like a little kid, man, on that floor. So I'll tell you that much. I cried like a little kid on the floor. I held the ball. I wanted to keep the basketball. Like, I ran around. Like, everybody was chasing each other. We got on the floor. You know, we piled up. It was crazy, man. It was an experience. We took mad pictures. It was like, yo, this is we popping now. You know, like we got a name, we got a buzz, and from there on, that's kind of where the real world kind of hit, recruiting and eligibility and all that. But we went to the state again to another game.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know there was another game. I knew, but I didn't know. I was like,
that was it.
You got to go to the state
after one game.
So I'm thinking, I don't even know the setup. So I'm like, yo, how does this work? Okay. Severian's there with Advance Field, Saquon Stone. They had a crazy squad.
Yep.
Albany was there with Paul Harris, Johnny Flynn. That was the group that took it that year. So our first game was versus Paul Harris and them. Zavarian played somebody else. We forgot who it was. It was four teams.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still have that same setup, but you know, we didn't go as hard as we thought. You know, with Paul Harris and those dudes, they brought it to us, man. We was down like 5 at half. I finished with like 19-20, but I shot a lot. I wanted to, like, I'm going out with a bang. We're gonna win this whole thing. But they took off, man. Paul Harris at that time, he was like the top 5.
Yeah.
In our class, he went to Syracuse with Johnny Flynn. So they both to play versus them my senior year in the state. You know, it was a special thing, and I built a relationship with Advance Fields and Saquon later down the road. But when they selected the All-State team, I was part of that 6 guys. You know, they had 5 guys that played on the chip game, and they selected me as the last All-State selection. So I was surprised to get selected because I was in the crowd watching the game, the last one, and they called my name, and I was like, damn, I got an All-State honor. That's dope.
Fire.
And that's when, you know, the news thing came out, player of the year stuff, the first team daily news, first team.
Don't speed through that. Don't speed.
All that. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Through that. Talk that talk.
Oh, we got time.
Brush that down. Talk that talk. Go ahead. What came?
Nah, that's how it went to when the All-State stuff happened. That's kind of how it went to the daily news, and it went to Newsday. They had a lot of different selective first team, second team, honorable mention from the city, from the state. Yep. So all those things kind of started popping out.
Okay.
And I started putting it in eyes like, okay, this is what I've been doing. This is helping me. My brother started getting more dialed in, like, yo, I'm going to help you with this recruiting shit, like, because I know you don't know what the hell you're doing, so let me help you. My pops, you know, God bless him, man. To this day, he didn't know,
Yeah.
And that's what it was, man. Like I got all these little things popping up from different recognitions. They gave me like they called it. It's called the Heisman Award, which is actually a football award in the NFL, but they call it like that in the city. They've done it for like 30, 40 years. I actually got the Heisman Award year. The person before me was Sebastian,
Oh,
2004, Telfair. So I was getting these little recognitions with people that was before me that I was like, damn, like this is amazing. And I'm not gonna forget about Tiny Archibald, because Tiny Archibald was my assistant coach in high school, my junior senior year.
yep.
He's an NBA top Hall of Famer,
Hall of Fame.
and to just have him in the gym and like he he taught me a lot of things like that. That's kind of where maybe those awards were coming out, the recognition, the people that was pushing my name. It was interesting to see that. So all that, all state, all first team, I did all of that. Like that wasn't hard, man. Like it was hard, Drew, but it wasn't like I knew I worked my ass off for that shit. I knew I was gonna get something. So
Yep.
the All State tournament was even a greater experience. As you go to upstate, you go to Albany, you see all these big time, different athletes from different places. But just to be in dinners and different auctions and different events, and they talk to you and they teach you kind of little different things to how to progress after high school. Like it was educational, man. There was a lot of knowledge that I was missing out of just being in the Bronx and going to Kennedy all day in the gym and staying away from trouble.
Yep.
So that experience my senior year was great, man. It was crazy. The day before the game, my championship game, Coach Mathis took us to a hotel. He said, "Yo, I don't want you at your crib. We're gonna take y'all to a place that can be together to focus."
Okay.
So I do a lot of that with my 6-man stuff, which we could get into, but that's a lot of the things that I've learned based on those experiences. What I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that was my senior year. That was it.
Okay, your senior year.
That was. Yep. My bad. Somebody
Yep.
was calling me.
It's all good. It's all good. So you get that chip. You guys fall short in the state. So now is the next step in your life. And
Yep.
what's that process for you? Like, talk about it.
Yeah. So at the time, my senior year, academically, they had something called the Regents,
Yes.
where you had to place your best score in every subject. I didn't do the Regents. I didn't have an opportunity to dial in academically my senior year to have the right GPA and the right eligibility SAT score to grab any of these opportunities, to grab them. I didn't have that. It was never the recruiting piece. I had a bunch of schools that were ready to offer. It was really more of the eligibility, NCAA eligibility.
Yep.
So that process, learning that, and then getting a call from a few of my friends that were gonna try something different, which was prep school. That I kind of like forgot about it. I say, you know what? Forget the eligibility. I'm going to prep. I'm gonna reclassify.
Okay.
Everybody's doing it. Let me do it. So it was a following act, but it was also I wanted more from what I put in for. Like I wanted to not go through kind of wanted to get go through the shortcut and got cut short. That's the message.
Gotcha.
You got to follow the process. So and trust it.
Yep.
I didn't take care of my academics. I didn't do as good as I needed to. My whole high school career, I was focused on basketball only, and that's what led me to the NCAA eligibility, which slapped me in the face. Like, you ain't gonna get a scholarship unless you get that right. So
Got you.
That's when it was real to me. Like, okay, let me go to prep. Let me reclass and try to get my mind right on this thing.
So you go to prep off of a championship season. So I know your confidence is up. You know what I'm saying? And you have a mission ahead of you. You're trying to get your grades together so you can be eligible to take this next step and get to this next level. So how are you approaching that whole prep experience?
At the time, I credit again my coaches, man. I'm gonna keep saying it. From LPAC Vic, from Reuben and Mathis and Tiny Archibald, and then moving on to my prep school. I went to Laurinburg Prep, which was in North Carolina. It was one of the top prep schools in the nation. Chris Chaney was there, the head coach that's there. He's gotten over 50 people in the NBA. He was the one that actually got Joey Dorsey and Antonio Anderson and those guys in Memphis.
Okay.
Memphis was crazy, and Calipari was there.
Sure.
So he's just it was him who I heard about it. I knew Vernon Teal was going there. I knew Zaquan Stone was going there. I knew Phil Jones, Delroy James. A lot of guys were going to that school, and it was going to be a New York thing in North Carolina. So we got on the Amtrak. We all made it happen. We all pushed out there, North Carolina, and we had two teams. It was a Prep A, Prep B.
Okay.
So it was like 20 to 25 people at a prep school in North Carolina that 75% of them were from New York. And that's kind of where I was drifted to based on what was hot. You know, I wanted to go where it was hot at, where we was going to get the most buzz.
Yeah.
My first year at Laurinburg Prep was crazy. It's one of the, I would say, the most deepest points of my life. I was in a bundle, you know, like the rooms were 4 guys to a room. You know, you have to get somebody to steal your shit. You know, you got to stand up for yourself. It was kind of like a real charter school, man, like a school that you got to, you know, really hold your own.
Yeah.
Throughout the year, the first year there, they created 2 more teams of local people and other things like that. So it became 30 to 40 guys in a small two-floor thing. I'm talking about, Drew, man, it was fights everywhere. It was everybody was stealing their shit. You know, people would come back. It's just problems.
Yeah.
Like a miniature jail.
Yeah.
But I was in there with some people that respected me and knew I was about basketball. So I was never the tough dude. You know, I was like, you know, I'm here for this. And they respected that. So it was never a problem with me. But it was learning to, again, be in a difficult situation with a great basketball thing, but later finding out that the school was not accredited, that it was not, the classes that I was taking there they were not going to count.
They weren't going to count for anything.
So it forced me to do a second year of prep. And Cheney, the coach there, he left to another school called Patterson Prep. And that's when I winded up there. It was like as a Lenore, North Carolina. So I transferred there. And I ran into Dwight Hardy. So Dwight was at prep school with me, and I didn't know he was going to go there. So we wound up reuniting funnily, on a funny way, at a prep school in North Carolina and being roommates. So that made it more comfortable, and it made my last year of prep, you know, easier to finish. And to get graduated, because that's when I got my diploma. You know, my true high school graduation was in North Carolina. It wasn't in Kennedy. I didn't graduate from Kennedy.
Okay.
I never really finished. That's the truth to that.
Got you.
I still claim it, but you know, I graduated from a school in North Carolina called Patterson Prep.
Got you. Somebody asked a question: would you go to or recommend kids to go right to prep school? Because that's what all the kids are doing now.
I mean, back then in 2006, 2007, 2008, there was a lot of schools that got shut down by the NCAA. So a lot of prep schools, they were being hounded, and we were one of those schools that we was getting hounded. So this day of age, that was 2007. You're talking about 13, 14 years from now. Prep schools are a little different. People know what accreditation means and what that means as far as classes and who's running the school, who's the director, who's the AD, the athletic director, who's the counselor for the academic piece. Those prep schools back then, it was one person doing math, science, and history, and you like, oh, okay. And then you had the gym teacher serving us lunch. You know, so I would say do your homework, make sure you read all the information, all the content that's on any prep school website, anything like that, to give you that piece that, okay, I'm getting something out of it academically. That way I don't run into a problem with that. I encourage a lot of kids to look into those things now, because that I always played up. I always played with tougher kids. sometimes they say, oh, prep school is bad because, you know, kids reclassify. I understand that's what it is, but everybody's story is different. Every athlete's different. So
Absolutely.
I would say do look into those options. Look into every option if you're a high school parent trying to look for a situation for your kid or anything like that. Like prep school is different from 13, 14 years ago. It wasn't the same. You can't start a prep school now without accreditation, without that diploma from the NCAA. So, yeah, prep school, those good days are done. Shout out my man PlayStation in here too. That's my man.
So did you play over there in North Carolina?
Yeah, I played both my years. We was 40-2 my first year, and then I transferred to Cheney School, the other school, and we was like 39-3 or something like that. I was being recruited by a lot of schools, and I was gonna go to Cincinnati. But then Mick Cronin was the coach there. He's the coach for UCLA. Cincinnati verbally, you know, offered in a sense, and I kind of did not go through the clearinghouse again. Somehow, some way with that SAT score or whatever it was, I didn't get cleared. So I wanted to go to JUCO, and I got a full scholarship. I went to a school in Missouri. It's called Missouri State West Plains, Division I JUCO, and that's how I said, F this shit, man. I went through high school, went through prep school, and I still didn't get qualified. I'm just going to go to JUCO and start my clock, start my eligibility, and do it that way.
Got you.
So I got a scholarship, but it was a junior college full scholarship at the time.
Okay.
To get out of prep school. Yeah, that's kind of get out of prep school and get out of my high school mess. It took me 6 years to really get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you get to the college level, how do you adjust?
I was still struggling in a sense because I was going to the basket a lot and I didn't know how to stop. I didn't have the greatest footwork. I was trying to play street. I was very chippy. Somebody say something, I get back at them. It was, and then I was transitioning from a 2 to a 1. I always try to define that. A lot of people say, "Oh, you a combo," and I was raised that way, and that's fine. I think combo is a great thing to be a 1, 2, 3, even a 4 nowadays. But at the time, my coach was asking for me to do certain things, and I wasn't really pulling through with that. We was 27-5. I was a starting point guard. I averaged 3 points. I didn't really our leading scorer averaged like 9. You know, it wasn't like we had a crazy scoring team, but we all, it was more of a team winning aspect. So it kind of put a lot of discipline in my game. Like, yeah, you went to high school, you went crazy. Yeah, you went to prep school, you went crazy. It's time to discipline your ass. You know, that's kind of how I shout out to Brian Osterman. That's actually my coach. He's the head coach at Kansas State for the women's program.
Okay.
I'm still in communication with him. That's one of my real close people for sure. He taught me a lot, you know, for my first year of college.
So after this first year JUCO, what's your mind like? Because like you said, the 6 years that it took you to get to that point, and then the first time you were right there, you didn't know about the eligibility thing. You had the opportunity to go to a big time D1. It got rerouted. Second round, you got a second opportunity to get that D1 thing. It gets rerouted. So that can take a toll on a kid. You know what I mean?
Yep, it does.
There's only 2 ways you can take it. You can take it as I'm not doing enough, or I need to do better.
Right. So for me, I felt both. You know, I felt like I was starting to question, man, why did things are happening this way? Why, you know, because I played well in my North Carolina years. I played well.
Yeah.
But I was always, you know, I knew there was more that I needed to improve on. I wasn't the greatest shooter. I wasn't I wasn't the biggest leader, the best leader. Like I didn't have I will get at you rather than, you know, encourage you to, yo, come on, let's get it. Like let's encourage you to go as a teammate. I wasn't the greatest teammate, so I had to think about other aspects of the game that I was like, man, is this something I don't have that really matters? So I had to work on different things, and I took it on both sides, man. I knew I had to get better, and I knew there was more to the game. It was more to the game. That was really what Brian Osterman instilled in me. That coach disciplined me in a sense, like you got to put your mind to what's happening here.
That's a mental thing you went through. Like
Yeah.
what you went through, you could be the best basketball player in the world.
Right.
But if you're not mentally tough, a lot of these kids don't realize the mental aspect of basketball.
Yeah.
10,000 people can put the ball in the basket. But if you're not mentally built for challenges, and you don't have a strong mind, that's why a lot of these kids, they're ranked the best sixth grader in the nation. And then a couple of bad things happen to them. Their confidence is shot. By the time they're in the 9th grade, you don't hear from them, and now the kid don't think they're any good anymore.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. And it happens a lot. And, you know, again, if we get to talk about 6-man, I'll tell you kind of where I'm at, how I'm paying it forward. But in a sense, that was the biggest piece for me my freshman year. I said, you know what? This is just like high school. Again, where I was a freshman averaging 3, I was a college freshman averaging 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had to progress and get better as I went. My high school years, that was what led me to look at it differently as a 19, 20-year-old kid and say, okay, my sophomore year, my last year, I got to understand how to do this the right way. And I went back home. I went back east. I went to another junior college at Hagerstown, Maryland, which made me. I think that school made me. And I had a lot of things to overcome there, which was another eligibility thing. But it made me take a step forward to a different place. So
that's the school where you put up the 118 assists?
No, that's Cal Poly. That's my D1.
Okay.
So, yeah, Hagerstown Community College was where I transferred. I averaged 18 and 9 assists a game. I was Maryland Junior College Player of the Year. I was recruited by Morgan State. I was going to go to Morgan State at the time, or Maryland. And Morgan State had Todd Bozeman, who coached Jason Kidd at Cal.
Cal, yeah.
So Todd Bozeman, another coach that really mentored me and told me a lot of things. And it came down to him and Cal Poly, who randomly I wound up here in the state of California to play my final D1 year. But I skipped a year, but I'll say, you know, through Hagerstown, that time was difficult because I had to take a lot of the prerequisite classes that did not count to transfer. I had to reconstruct the academic plan to graduate to finally get graduated and be eligible for a Division I scholarship. So that was important to me. My brother dialed into it. We talked to the guidance counselor before I transferred to Hagerstown, so they put a plan together. And Mike Martin was the academic advisor. He's probably watching it, so he's probably going to see it. He was the one that walked me through every class, what I needed. I was in his office a lot, so that made me understand the process of eligibility and the NCAA and all that in Hagerstown. It was really a well-structured plan, so I don't fail again, which I did. My spring, I failed statistics, which was the last class, and I had to take it in the summer and failed it again.
Gotcha.
And then I lost everything as far as recruiting. And Cal Poly called me. I took 3 visits. I went to Duquesne. I went to Maryland on a non-official. It was an hour away from us. And I went to Cal Poly. So Cal Poly came about through Kent State University. Kent State was the one that offered me, but they took it back because of that failed statistics class.
Okay.
So I was going to go to Kent State in Ohio, and I didn't wind up going there. So they called Cal Poly. They had a new staff, and they was like, yo, you know, you should look at into this kid. He failed his stats, but he all he needs is that to be done. We just can't take him right now.
40 seconds. I'm going to log out. I'm going to log out, and we log back in. Because you're leaving something out. You fronting right now.
What am I fronting?
Missouri, no?
Yeah.
Okay. We coming back.
All right.